welcome back to Pokemon Platinum. We're finishing the last of the main story here, so fourth of the Elite Four, which means you have the champion after. And surprise, surprise, it's actually a good type, so Psychic it is.
Oh, excellent.
I keep thinking Grimsley is in this generation, but no, he's Gen 5.
Who? What?
The Dark type, Elite Four.
Oh.
He makes a cameo in Sun and Moon for no reason, and then leaves.
Yeah.
This is a fairly imposing character design. Lucian, huh? That reminds me of Fable 2.
Yeah.
Fable 2 is one of those games where, like, they didn't want to have an actual traditional final boss, and it pissed everyone off because this was, like, Xbox 360 gen, and everyone was still accustomed to bosses being bosses. It was only, like, really niche games that tried to break that tradition or break away from that tradition in any way. So, when you got to the end of Fable 2, you had this non-boss encounter with the final villain, and a moral choice connected to it, of course. But it was a meaningless moral choice, because if you didn't kill him yourself, fucking Reaver would do it for you anyway. Because Reaver's an asshole. In fact, Reaver is the only good thing about Fable 2. And the only good thing about Fable 3.
Hey, it's Galad, the best Pokemon for roaming legendaries.
What makes
It can learn Mean Look, False Swipe, and I think a few other good moves for catching roaming.
What is going on with that guy's arm? It's like I can't. It's like something about the sprite art makes the perspective on his arm weird, and I can't tell what it's supposed to be.
Well, the arm's supposed to be like a sword kind of thing.
Oh.
So like he swipes and fights with it.
Okay, yeah. It's definitely a perspective thing then, because like all it looks like to me is like he has these two differently sized, misshapen things attached to sticks on his shoulders. Like if this were higher res, I'd probably be able to tell that they're supposed to be blade-like, but not at this resolution and not in this particular sprite drawing. It's like I'm having flashbacks to the sprites from Red and Green. Ugh. Not even Red and Blue, Red and Green.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess. Red and Blue still had a lot of really bad ones.
Yeah, but they weren't as bad. I mean,
technically, yes.
I'm trying to think of an appropriate visual metaphor for this. If Red and Blue where Pride Rock is a toilet bowl, then Red and Green with that same toilet bowl after you've had like way too many tacos.
Okay. Oh God.
Oh come on! Didn't kill it.
Wow. That is
so close.
One stubborn Pokemon, huh? It's like you steamroller the first 3 of the Elite Four, and then you get curb stomped by this one Pokemon.
Yeah, most of the Elite Four in this game is not too big of a problem. It's Cynthia who's the meat wall, pretty much.
Yeah, and Cynthia's actually a legit challenge, so I can't complain too much.
I mean, kinda. Part of her challenge is the fact that they jack up all of her stats, so all of her Pokemon have perfect stats and the highest possible stats they can possibly have at any given point.
For once, the Pokemon champion is doing the same things that the player would be doing if they were playing competitive.
Yeah, basically.
Imagine that. A champion actually giving it their all.
I mean, I suppose, yeah. I mean, I do appreciate that she does do the balanced typing thing, because the themed champions I never really got, because, you know,
it just feels like an Elite 5 then.
The only reason that there have ever been themed champions is because they had the bright idea to bring back Lance in Gen 2 as a champion.
Well, I mean, Gen 3 had them too. Is also
yeah,
part
I know.
of it.
And they just sort of continued that design trend from Lance, even though in Lance's case it was supposed to be a cool continuity thing where this character has improved since before and actually, you know, taken over the role that your previous protagonists took.
I mean, I know that like the idea is yes that he improved, but his stats are worse. His Pokemon
Yeah, I
levels are
know.
worse in Gen 2
That's
than Gen
that's
1.
game balance being silly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, narratively, that's what's supposed to have happened. But since you encounter that moment in the middle of the game, effectively, it's
a little weird.
yeah, it's weird in terms of numbers.
I mean, Gen 2, I mean, people argue about whether or not Red is the true final boss or a super boss, effectively, but he is a whatever it's called.
I wouldn't say Red
he
was
is a
hard enough to be
multi-character.
called a super boss.
Well, he's a pretty big jump in levels, because the next character you would fight before him is Green, Blue, whatever you want to call him. And he's got a good, like, what? He's got, like, level 60 Pokemon, and then Red jumps up to 70 and 80. So it's a good 10 level boost.
Fair enough, but I still say super boss in RPG parlance is overstating it.
Yeah. I guess the idea is also that he's hidden as well. Like, you're not told that he's there, you just happen to stumble upon him.
Yeah, at the end of the last place you're instructed to go in the game. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that's a bit too much of a pedantic argument to have over it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's semantics at its finest.
But yeah. Gen 2, as a sequel, did some interesting things narratively with how simple Pokemon storytelling was at the time. So...
yeah, his Espeon is getting all the luck.
Yeah. I mean... you're the evolution team. It's kind of fitting that you'd be having so much trouble against a rival evolution level user.
Well, Espeon is really good. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Espeon is basically about as good as Alakazam.
It's like
The only
it's like out of
difference
nowhere
is-
the game started to actually try, and with these last two bosses, you're having some issues.
Alakazam is just more of a glass cannon than Espeon is.
Well, no, their defenses are nearly identical. The only thing that's different is that Espeon's slower. That's really it.
Espeon has a better ability, though. Hidden ability, anyway.
Oh yeah, that's true. Magic Bounce, I think it has, or Magic.
Yes.
There's two abilities that have almost the same name, like Magic Bounce, Magic something
I think
else.
I think it's Magic Bounce.
Yeah, but there's another one with Magic that I don't remember the name of. That's similar but not as good. So yeah, but Magic Bounce is just one of the best abilities in the game. So.
It always interested me, like the structure of having an Elite Four and a champion. It makes no sense outside of video game context, like at all.
Well, it's just a tradition because of how well it went for Gen 1.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, even the anime couldn't really do that. They had to have a tournament, because that's how you determine champions, with competition
Tournament
between
talk.
contenders, not a standing staff of really good trainers who have to be overtaken in order to try the champion out. Who,
Well,
you know,
it's just part of how the game works because, believe it or not, young people out there, your rival being the champion at Gen 1 was a huge twist for the time.
Yeah, that's true, because the idea is that Lance is the final boss, but no, it's actually
Your rival.
Yeah, it's actually
the,
a rival.
The thing is, the setup basically implies that if you become champion, you're stuck behind this wall in this room waiting for challengers every day. You become a gym leader. And wow. And that's why the game has to like reset to before you take on the champion if you're going to go out into the world and do stuff again.
Yeah, pretty much. Or it's just like, okay, I want to go like home and change my clothes.
No, you will stay in this room.
But I have to go to the bathroom. So
Look,
No, chair.
Just
now.
call your mom and have her
you
FedEx
don't even get
your
a chair. You have to
belongings.
stand.
Call your mom and have her FedEx your belongings to Indigo Plateau
No,
because you ain't leaving.
I want the next champion to have a big Dracula chair.
And Cynthia, she's been out in the world like helping you with the criminal team this whole time. So
Well, technically so is Lance.
so
Well, Cynthia stands there. She helps.
yeah.
She
So
helps
like,
with quotations.
if someone comes to challenge the champion while they're gone, what do they have to do? Just sit there and wait until they get back?
I guess.
set up an appointment, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, here's Cynthia, probably the overall toughest champion in the series so far.
If we're talking about like first fight, I
not,
would say
not
yes.
necessarily rematches or other appearances.
Yeah,
or
I
stuff.
would say yes. I'd say number 2 is probably Blue from first game.
Yeah, Blue was
Yeah.
pretty hard the first time you encountered him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember like when I was a kid and not very good, he beat me multiple times. Even these days, if I were to go back and play Red and Blue, I'd probably have trouble taking him down. Like he might possibly beat a few of my Pokemon before I kill him.
Oh no, you're almost assuredly to lose at least a couple Pokemon to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless it whenever people do Nuzlockes and stuff like that, they power grind for the champion no matter what game it is.
Yeah. Melodic is probably one of her weakest Pokemon just because it's kind of a generic water type.
It's an interesting design, though.
Well, it's a Gen 3 Mon.
Gen 3 did have some interesting Pokemon in it. I really need to go back and play it one of these days.
It's to me it's probably the most middle of the road.
Yeah, I know, but it also exists in
The middle of the road one is more Gen 4 for me.
like
Gen 4 is kind of like that pure middle of the road. Gen 3 is like slightly below it.
I would swap them personally.
I
But,
honestly
you know.
think Gen 3 is a little bit more interesting than Gen 4, but that's just me. The thing though is that Gen 3 also exists in that oddly timeless GBA Pokemon area where like I have an easier time going back to that gen than I do with the 3DS games.
I agree with that. The engine is much cleaner and
Yeah,
sharper.
it's like
I think the sprites, personally, at least the overworld sprites, look better, and the animations are better on the overworld too.
Yeah, I mean, like,
So-
I have some difficulty going back to the Gen 2 remakes, and to this gen, and to even to a certain extent, Black and White. The only modern Pokemon game that I can really get into very easily, just based on a visual standpoint, is Sun and Moon, because they've achieved a pretty clean sort of PS2 graphics kind of look there. But oh god, what did they do to Togepi?
Yeah, Togekiss is kind of weird.
Togekiss would be fine if there was another stage in between, in between it and Togetic.
I disagree. That design looks like nothing. What am I looking at?
I mean, I get they wanted it to be a bird. It's just I don't get the evolution of having it grow wings on its back and then having those wings consume all of the arms. That doesn't work for me.
It looks like
This feels like this would be in between Togepi and Togetic.
it looks like some weird flying form of Spark the Electric Jester or something. I mean, ugh.
Oh god damn it! And here it is.
Oh no.
Are we on to the Garchomp? Yeah,
Yep.
this thing's infamous as probably Cynthia's most powerful Pokemon.
Cynthia's scariest Pokemon.
So it's up there in terms of roadblock tier with like Nose Pass and stuff. Is it?
Yeah, this is why Ryan has Ice Beam pretty much.
Yeah.
Nah.
Oh, you're trying. Oh, that's actually smart that you're trying to confuse it before you have.
But too bad it's faster than me. Shit. This thing is fast, it hits really hard, and since it's Dragon Drowned, it has extremely few weaknesses.
Yeah, like ice is its only really reliable weakness, as far as I can tell, especially since this
Yeah.
is pre-fairies.
Yeah.
Well, at least you managed to
Fairies!
use it.
Well, we'll see if it actually works for me.
I don't think it... Yeah, its only other weakness is dragon, if I can remember correctly.
Yeah, as of this gen, anyway.
Yeah.
So, is it gonna undo all your healing?
We'll
Let's
see.
see.
Hey!
Excellent.
That
You had
wasn't very
more
much.
trouble. You had
Imagine.
more trouble with the Espeon.
Actually, having to use a debuff in a Pokemon game against the AI, that's
Well, you use Confuse Ray because that's 100% accuracy.
yeah.
Confuse Ray is a really good spell.
All right, come on.
Oh wow,
Three
times
in a
row.
row.
That never happens.
Wow, you've almost completely beaten this thing with confusion.
No, it has a
It has
it has a berry plus Cynthia's gonna do the whole I'm gonna heal it when you get really close to killing it thing.
Well, I mean, you've managed.
Oh, she actually withdrew it.
Whoa! I didn't know.
That almost never happens in Pokemon, like ever.
Yeah,
The AI is almost never set to withdraw stuff.
that's okay. Cynthia's an actually intelligent trainer. This is actually kind of exhilarating to watch. Kind of makes me want to actually play this gen. Too bad I have to like wade through 40 hours of semi-mediocre decency to get here. Wow, that sounds really petty to complain about. It's just a long road to get to Cynthia, but this actually does look like a pretty exciting boss battle.
Oh, she is. That's why she's remembered so much.
I mean, the boss fight itself is fine. I still think that, like,
As a character, she's
as
kind
a
of
character,
middling. Yeah.
she doesn't, not even middling. She just has no character. She doesn't do anything.
She's
really.
kind of got one of those like not very bombastic personalities that doesn't do so well in a game that doesn't have a lot of narrative push to it. So
And also that I know that this is also partly just me, but I also don't get much from the design, really, because it's just a blonde lady with a coat, you know.
I think
I
it's
see
like
that if I go outside in the winter.
I think it's kind of cool looking actually, but
I know that I'm the minority in this one. Like, I know that most people
I
think that
think
her design is
part of
good,
the reason
but-
it's memorable is that you don't necessarily see that mix of elements too often, especially in anime games, where they do the elegant blonde lady, but they do it with an emphasis on making her look imposing, rather than
Hot.
not necessarily
Well, I
hot,
mean,
but some shade of.
I feel like that has a lot to do with why so many people like her.
Like
to-
I wouldn't say hot, but some shade of delicate. She doesn't look delicate, or she looks like a champion. You know, it's
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Ice Beam. Come on, tank. Come on, tank. But yeah, with Garchamp's attack plus type stab bonus on an Earthquake, it's devastating if you don't
It
have
does,
the right
yeah.
team for it.
God forbid, if anything has weakness, it's almost certainly dead.
Please die now. Yes.
It's
Because you just know that if it almost died but survived, there would be a full restore coming.
I think she gets 3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong there. She definitely has at least 1, but I think she might have more than 1.
That sounds really annoying. Wow. Okay, they pulled out all the stops with this one, didn't they?
Yeah.
How's the champion in black and white by comparison? Just mechanically, I mean.
Well, the game does stuff a little bit different, where that game has like a final boss that's not really
the champion.
the champion. You fight the champion effectively in the rematch, where they're much higher level, and he's a pretty normal fight, I would say. But that's kind of the point, in that it's supposed to feel like a friendly duel more than like a huge thing. Like, even the music is supposed to emphasize that, because instead of being like, you know, tense in the way this one is, it's more just like it's fun and bouncy in a different kind of way, you know.
Yeah. It's interesting. This generation's story kind of feels like, now that I'm looking at the final boss, it kind of feels like if they had just been a little bit more effective on a few notes throughout, like, it all really would have built up very nicely to this champion battle. But because Cynthia sort of just stood there and didn't do anything during specific story moments where she was supposed to be helping you, you kind of don't get the effect that they were going for.
I will say they definitely did better with Cynthia than they did with someone like Diantha. Diantha's the
Diantha just kind of exists, and honestly, I find Cynthia more interesting than Steven Stone.
Still, I have the same issues with Steven that I do with Cynthia.
Yeah, but I give more credit to Cynthia because A, she has a better team, and 2, I just like her design more because
I agree. I agree with
Steven
those
is
points,
just
yeah.
Steven is just there. He
Steven
doesn't
just
matter.
exists. He doesn't. He has the same problem as Cynthia in that he kind of stands there and talks when the villains do stuff, but he doesn't
Do
really
anything.
help. So he's essentially the same character, but minus the actually challenging boss fight. So he's just not as memorable to me.
What you could read Cynthia's actions, though, like, if you were really making excuses for the lackluster storytelling here, you could read Cynthia's actions as an interest in the protagonist's skill. Like, she could do something, but she's interested to see what you will do, so she steps back for a moment and lets you take point.
That's effectively what Lance did in Gen 2. He could have taken the entire rocket hideout by himself, but he brought you along because he interested you.
It would
other
be
way around.
interesting if they actually wrote that into the story.
Yeah.
They don't really touch on that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's very slightly implied in Gen 2.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's just like, you know, if that were what the characters were obviously doing here, then this
Ryanna, I came. What? When I heard you beat Delia for? Oh.
it's like this could have been written as Cynthia sort of seeing you as a protege on top of being an opponent, and there could have been a nice character moment there after you won. But, Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
One thing that I think I would like for a Pokemon game to do, and I don't think Gen 8 will do this at all because from what we've seen Gen 8 do.
I mean, it'll be up by the time this goes up, but
Yeah, but no, Gen 8's already been confirmed to have a champion and gym leaders and stuff like that. I liked the idea that Sun and Moon tried where they got rid of gym leaders, but the trials still effectively fulfilled the same purpose. I would really like a Pokemon game where they change the structure you go through the game with entirely. Like, I don't necessarily need it to be open world or whatever, but like a different... I know that people have said, oh, it's the same game every time for Pokemon, and I get that changing things too much is scary and doesn't necessarily mean that the game will be good, but I do feel like it's been enough time that maybe a different kind of goal that you work for as you go through the game would be a nice change of pace.
The problem is at this point they just need to say the anime can do its own thing for a while, the trading card game can do its own thing for a year or two, and just give the Pokemon team time to stew.
Yeah.
Give them time to test things, give them time to formulate ideas instead of saying, we have a year to make this game because that's what Pokemon does. We don't have time to try new things, so just stick with what we know.
Yeah.
I would agree there. I mean, they can do a filler arc of the anime. They can do something different with the cards. They don't need to have new Pokemon every year for the cards.
They've done semi-decent filler arcs in the past. Like, I remember somewhat liking the Orange Islands. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The Orange Islands. That was pretty fun, actually.
They've done it in later years too. Like, they needed filler between Gen 3 and Gen 4 in the anime, so they did the Battle Frontier as its own thing, and that's like the only.
He's still not a champion though.
Yeah, because that's the only championship, quote unquote, Ash has ever won, but he turned down the prize, and it's so he's still not a champion.
Because the Battle Frontier isn't a Pokemon League, so he's still not a champion.
No. Oh, Ash, why do we let you do things?
Because the anime is a money-making machine.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, I think I mean, we're not really talking about Gen 4 anymore, but we haven't really talked much about Gen 4 since like part 10, so you know what, whatever, who cares? I think a change in direction would really help Pokemon at this point. It would set stuff back in play. You know what? Because that's kind of what I feel like it helped Zelda and Mario when they were getting really stale. Because Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild both, like, I mean, they borrowed from early games ideas as well, for sure, you know, but they definitely were trying to do new and interesting things, and that's part of why they made such a huge impact.
Well, the other thing is they just need to get fresh blood into the series.
That's
Onuma said that's basically why Breath of the Wild turned out the way it did, because they wanted to have the open world game. So to help with that, they got Monolith Soft to do a lot of work for them, and so the guys at Monolith Soft were like, "Why are you designing a game this way? This is stupid." And they're like, "Well, that's just kind of how he always made Zelda games. Like, no, it's dumb. Give him a jump button." And you're like, "Okay."
Oh my god, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the way that happened.
Nintendo is fairly insular, and a lot of the time that causes them to make very conservative decisions that don't always to the game's benefit. Like Sticker Star being the obvious example, where this genius game designer that's well known within the company said, "Hey, you don't need a story for a Mario game," and everyone looks at Miyamoto like he's God, so they listen to him, and it wasn't a good decision.
Yeah.
Different projects need different thought processes, and you can't.
Thankfully, the rest of Nintendo has been getting better about that, between letting the younger group do Splatoon.
Yeah.
Letting a lot of the new blood do a lot of Fire Emblem stuff, which helped a lot.
Oh yeah.
For better and for better.
Animal
and
Crossing
for
2 has seen. I don't know what the development cycle is on that. I know that the Splatoon team works on Animal Crossing, but it seems that a lot of the stuff in that game, from what we saw, it seems to be very forward-thinking. For Animal Crossing, obviously, that's the kind of game where you don't want to change the gameplay too drastically between release. But you get what I mean. Like it's trying. They very clearly could have just made New Leaf again, and people would have bought it. But they tried to do something different, which is admirable. I think
Pokemon very much needs that shake-up, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. What I've been feeling from Nintendo lately is they're going back to the idea that we can just throw stuff at a wall and see what sticks kind of mentality that we saw from them during the wackier days of the N64 and GameCube, but with the hindsight and polish that we get from more modern stuff.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Pokemon still in many ways feels like a game made by a 2012 Nintendo, which is not necessarily a good thing.
It felt like a game made by a 2012 Nintendo as far back as the late 90s.
Yeah.
But, well, you know, it is what it is. To be fair to Nintendo and Game Freak and all, the formula they have is a good formula. It's like, okay, at least you're going to get a really good Scooby-Doo episode every time, but, you know, I'd like to upgrade to Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated or something, you know? I'd like Sassy Velma to pop up somewhere. Just, you know, a decent modernization would be nice.
So which version of Pokemon would be the Misadventures of Skooks?
Maybe the GameCube ones.
Yeah, but what about a pup named Scooby-Doo though? Is like
that
Pikachu
would be
only
that would be
that'd be Let's Go.
Yeah, that'd be Let's Go. I was gonna say.